Hey guys, welcome to the Detour Live, and geez, we're going to stack paddles straight off.
Yes, it's very good, and hopefully we've got the Cookie Monster as well. So we've just sent him out the link. So,
well, John, I haven't even introduced you, so you might as well. You're that excited, you might as well do the introductions today, mate.
No, that's your job. I don't want to. I'll stuff it up as always. So you go for it, mate.
Okay. I'm your host, Dan Jones, joined by four-time National Road Champion John Trevorrow, Olympic gold medalist, Olympic commentator Scott McGrory, the voice of cycling Phil Liggett, and the head DS for Team Bike Exchange, Matthew White, all joined at the same time. Oh, and why not? Why not add to the chaos?
Brady Bunch.
We've got the 2003 green jersey winner, Baden Cooke. What a family.
Hey!
Hi, guys.
How are you, Baden? Hey,
Good,
we've never had such a lineup at the start of the show. This is incredible. We're getting the hang of this game now. It's wonderful, isn't it?
How's it going?
I'm sure someone will fall out very, very soon. But anyway, whatever.
Well, we'll start with you, Whitey, because breaking news is Luke Durbridge is now in the Olympic team to replace Jack Haig. Turbo Durbo, you're going to send him home to freshen up after today or what?
No chance. No. He. So what I said yesterday, was talking about yesterday. So it looked like Ben O'Connor declined a spot for the Olympics, and Luke Durbridge is going to take what was originally Jack Haig's spot that was offered to Ben O'Connor, and Durbo will be flying to Tokyo on Monday.
Wow. Well, I think he's had a great tour.
That's great news. Great news. I mean, he'll be a great sort of lieutenant in the road race. It's miles too hard for him, of course, but he gets a chance to ride in the time trial, which is right up his alley. So, fantastic news.
No, Whitey. No,
Johnny. The time trial is Rowan and Richie. So. Durbo is he'll be going there as a worker for sure, and the Olympic course is a tough one, but he'll play a role there supporting Richie before the final climb, which is I think 30k from the finish, and then that would be his job done for the day.
Okay. Well,
the problem is years gone by, you go, we're going to the Olympics, so being in Tokyo, we get to see the sights and we get to do all this color stuff. Not this year. It's just literally hotel to event, then back to the hotel, then back home, isn't it, Whitey?
Yeah.
Bit of training.
Yeah. They'll be out within 12 to 24 hours after their race, and they'll be staying off site. I don't even know if they'll go anywhere near the village. So it'll be a weird one because there's no fans, but it's still the games, and for most of us here on the panel, we've all been to Olympic Games in some form or shape. And there'll be a special moment for Durbo, which you'll remember for the rest of his life.
We've all been to the Olympic Games. You speak for yourself, Matty. I haven't been. Well, I have, but not on my bike.
Yeah, like I said, you probably commented at 17 of them.
15, actually. You Aussies are prone to exaggeration. This will be more 15.
Only 15 of them.
15.
With Durbo going to the games. I know before. Well, you go back to National Road Championships, etc. I know Durbo really wanted to have a crack at doing the time trial at the games. It didn't work out that way. We only qualified 4 spots, etc. And they nominate the riders a long way out. And obviously, Richie has great time trial pedigree as well as Rowan. But is there a possibility that can be changed around? Would it just depend on whether Richie feels like he's in the form to do it, or is it just lock solid? That's the way it's going to be.
I think it's already been pre-selected, and at the end of the day, you saw the form that Richie exhibited here in the time trial on day 5. He's got better time trial form than Durbo anyway, and it's not a flat time trial. So I think that the best 2 time trialers are the ones riding, and that's Richie and Rowan on that course for sure.
Yeah, I was just going to ask
Johnny, just say hello to Baden Cooke. He's joined in nice and early.
He just dropped out.
That's exactly what I was going to do. He's probably. Okay. I don't think he's cracked the shits.
No,
all right, he'll be back in a minute. Well, I was about to do that, but we'll see what happens.
The show's going.
Oh, here we go. Cookie's back now. Show Cookie some love, please, fellas. This is a bit bloody rude.
Cookie, we lost you there, mate. I thought I said, "Oh no, Cookie's cracked the sands because we haven't spoken to him yet." But I was about to ask you a question, Cookie, because while we've got Whitey here, I thought, well, we're going to be talking about the green jersey anyway, and the battle for it. And you won it, one of the great battles of all time, right down to the wire. You actually took it off Robbie McEwen on the last stage, and he was wearing it. So you ripped it off his back on the Champs-Elysees. What words of wisdom have you got for Bling in the days to come? What would you suggest he can do?
You've stumped him. You've stumped him.
These difficult questions.
He's really thinking about it. Cookie's unfortunately got a few technical issues. I think he's pulled the modem from when he was on Survivor, because if anyone didn't realise, Cookie is going to be starring in Channel 10's Australian Survivor starting on Sunday, 7:30. And if you look closely there, he's front and centre for all the marketing posters. And he posted this on social during the week. And Whitey, if there was two teams on Survivor, there was the Brains and the Brawns, which side do you reckon Cookie would be on?
I don't know.
Mate, when you're talking about surviving, he could captain both of them, I reckon.
so Cookie was on the Brains team, and I thought I'll go over to Channel 10 and see what people have been commenting under his photo. And the top liked comment was, "Cyclists don't have brains, though." That's a bit of a sledge.
At all, yeah.
Takes one to know.
We'll just see how he survives. I would, if I was a betting man, I reckon he was going to go pretty far.
Yeah.
Yes, I think we're all in that camp. There's no doubt. Anyone who knows the man will know that. Now, but we're looking at a blank screen. It's doing the circles. Will he come back?
Yes, he's back. Cookie, can you hear us? Are you there? Cookie.
Any day now.
He's in the basement. He's down in the basement.
That's all right.
Okay.
We'll send it. I'll send him a message and say,
Dan, is Survivor? Is it every night or is it one day a week? So it starts on Sunday. What can we? Because we're now gone into lockdown. We're going into lockdown in Victoria. This is my first lockdown. I've escaped every one so far.
Yeah.
But I'll watch Survivor every night if it's on.
My guess is they'll go live. They'll go every night, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Sundays. And then it's like Married at First Sight. Then they have a break for some reason, Thursdays and Fridays and Saturdays. So it should be sort of 3-4 days in a row. But I mean, now that you know Cookie's on it, who's not going to watch it? Like it's going to be. We'll have to feed. We'll have to feed Whitey.
Probably a few of his ex-girlfriends.
I've never watched it, but I'm going to be locked into it. It's funny. I was talking to Brett Lancaster in Spain just about an hour ago, and he said, bad luck, you're in lockdown. And seriously, it had only been announced by our premier about 5 minutes before. I said, how could you know that? He said, I was talking to my brother in Victoria, and he was just whinging about going into lockdown. Oh, there you go. And he also knew all about...
We're in lockdown, but on Monday, we come out of lockdown, and yesterday we had 43,000 cases and 50 dead. But we're coming out of lockdown to live a normal life from Monday. You work it out. I can't.
Maybe after losing the Euros, they thought, well, that's it. Just let them run free. We're over it.
Yeah.
Matthew,
don't mention the Euros here. There's almost a racial war going on now. Seriously, don't mention.
Well, Matthew Borden says Cookie must be using a BlackBerry. How's your BlackBerry been holding up, Whitey, so far this tour?
Yeah, good, thanks. Good.
It's going a lot better
no one's
since we got
contacted
into
me
the
at BlackBerry
mountains.
to be an ambassador yet, but I'll be.
I thought
I'm in an air-conditioned room. I'm not in the car.
What are you saying, Phil?
I thought those phones were extinct. Guys to know the founder of BlackBerry, and he gave me one. It was years ago. I thought he got the sack from the board, and I thought the company went with him. I didn't know they were still buying.
I bet you've still got it, though, Phil. I bet you've still got it.
I've still got it, and it's brand new, but I've never turned it on because, as you know, I'm on another phone. I still use a Nokia. I still use the Nokia 9210 because the batteries never run down. Brilliant.
Cookie's back. How are you going,
Yeah.
Cookie? Can you hear us? You on the right Wi-Fi?
Oh, I don't know what the hell's going on with my phone. It just keeps cutting out.
Well, at least you're surviving. Thank God for that.
Well, tell us about it, mate. Survivor. We've been talking it up. We want to hear it from you. What's it about?
See if we can answer the question. I think. What's your advice for Bling in the next few days for the green jersey? What's he got to do?
Well, I mean, he's just got to hope that Cavendish gets outside the time cut, I guess, isn't he? I mean, really, and you know, it's very possible that Cavendish could have a bad day. I don't think there's much that can be done except keep being in the front, keep getting through the mountains, and you just got to hope for some bad luck. I mean, when he won it last time, it was sort of a similar situation with Kittel, and Kittel didn't make it. But I think Cavendish is just going too strong to be beaten at this point.
Whitey, what were your takeaways from yesterday's stage, mate? It's from a GC perspective. I mean, obviously the Pog continues to pick his nose at the tour.
Yeah, I suppose the big loser yesterday was Iran. So he's going to have to bounce back on a big day today if he wants to challenge for that podium spot, because first and second look pretty much locked in. He will time trial better than Carapaz on Saturday, but at the moment I would think the deficit's a little bit too much. But if Carapaz has a bad day, Iran has a good day today, it's going to go down to the wire for that third spot, I think.
I was reading that he got a warning, Iran and Bilbao, for the positioning on the bikes. It must be a different transition period for some of the riders, because to be used to riding in a certain position and then now it's like you could potentially be booted off. Do you think that the UCI is still this sort of like transition period?
Whitey?
Oh, no.
It hasn't been a transition period for the people that have kicked off the race, is it?
No.
They have booted people. They have booted people from races in the past, but it's it's like some of the things with the UCI. It's a bit ad hoc. There's some great ideas, the professionals have got to understand that they are ambassadors for the sport, and that what they do, kids will copy. But the way that some of these rules have been implemented has not been as clear as it should have been. And the UCI have backtracked on certain rules that the guys have to abide by, but it's no surprise. It's no surprise, really.
Whitey, I was just going to ask the question. That was one of the sorry to jump in on you there, Scotty, but that was one of the great stages that I've seen last night. It was just an amazing mountain stage, especially the last climb with the heavyweights all bashing away as they were. From your perspective in the car, what did you think of it?
Well, I didn't get to see too much of it until I got back to the hotel and watched the replay on GCN. But it was a big day. It was a good, aggressive final. I was behind Esteban. Esteban punctured right at the bottom of the last climb in the town. So and we were car 12, and it was really hectic. He had, by the time we told him he got a spare wheel from Shimano, and by the time we got to him, he was already back up and running. But then he was at 30 seconds, 40 seconds at the bottom of the climb, just as it was starting to ramp up. So he basically had to ride through people, and he had quite a solid ride considering. But yeah, I was just following him up the climb yesterday, and could hear on the radio what was going on. Didn't have too much television coverage on that climb, and then watched it when I came home last night, as we do. Checked out what happened on the stage, but it was a very entertaining stage for those top 10 guys.
Wigo made some comments on Eurosport, according to the Free Range. He said, thoughts on Wigo's comments, the Pog should have let Carapaz win to secure an alliance with Ineos. What do you think about that, Whitey?
Those days are gone, aren't they? I hope.
Yeah, I'll tell you my thoughts on that one. He doesn't need an alliance, mate. He's clearly the best bike rider here. He doesn't need anyone.
Unless Ineos aren't going to go easy.
And it's also it was his first. People might have noticed he has been dominating the Tour, but that's his first stage win.
A second.
Other than the time trial. Yeah.
And let's face it, Ineos still, if you let them win the stage, they're still going to just
first
go
road
hard.
stage win of the Tour, and he's only he took it yesterday.
And again today.
Yeah. What's that, Cookie?
Well, I mean, if he had given them the stage, let's face it, if they saw an opportunity in 2 days' time, they're still going to just smash him as hard as they can. They're not going to make
Yeah,
agree. Yeah.
That's we go clutching at straws, just trying because the team hasn't done that well.
Today's the day.
I think.
The biggest budget team in the world hasn't won a stage here yet, and at the moment they're on the edge of if they're going to arrive on the podium or not.
So before we let you go, Whitey, what are your thoughts on stage 18, mate?
It's a short stage, only 129k, but in that back end of the race, that's 30 plus kilometers of pretty brutal climbing, and I expect a really hectic start. And there's two ways this race can go today. A big group can go early, and if it's got the right combination, I think it's got a pretty good chance to sail away and go to the line. I think yesterday's stage, I think if Israel and Arkea hadn't have chased yesterday, they may not have caught that breakaway, because I don't think
he's gone, fellas. The blackberry's gone.
Which should
Look,
never
it's
have
not a fair
caught
delay.
tonight. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, his internet was sketchy anyway.
It was the delay podcast, not the detour.
Oh yeah,
I think it cut out right as he was about just approaching the first sprint. So it's a miracle we got that far. But we were going through Lourdes at the time. Oh, here he's back. He's back.
We're really limping to Paris on the old detour. The Wi-Fi connection here, folks. Just hang with us. Hang with us. We're going to get there. So you got to the sprint, I think, Whitey.
I think it'll be a really, really aggressive first hour of racing. It's narrow roads. They're only Category 4 climbs, but I think if it's raced very aggressively at the start and a bigger group goes, I think it can sail away to the line. A small group, well then, they've got no chance. Someone will take control and bring it back. And for us, obviously, the focus is trying to put Cav under the pump there, take the points if we can, and edge a little bit closer to the lead. And like I said, like Cookie said before, it's a tough one for us because we might have beat Cav yesterday in the intermediate sprint, but on a flat all-out sprint, we are not as fast as him. But we've got to keep doing what we're doing, and that's chase points when we can. And who knows? A lot can happen in the intermediate sprints and the two final days. So all we can control is what we can, and that is going after the maximum amount of points on the line for those intermediate sprints.
I see there's a Cat 4, only about 5 or 6K before the sprint. So that would be the plan. If we could spit him there, you get 20 points back in one fell swoop.
Yep.
I thought it was a good question.
That is correct.
And look, it's 2 kilometres at 7%. It's not easy either.
Yep.
And it also, Cav probably doesn't want to start the Tourmalet in the red neither. So it's also not very far from when we start climbing, and it's only a matter of time after that before he gets dropped, and he has his 3 or 4 teammates waiting for him. So, the best case scenario for us would be a real aggressive start, and that Cav and the other sprinters arrive pretty tired by the time we get to the Tourmalet. It's we start climbing after 70 kilometres, and the time cut will be short. And if you have a bad day, you'll be in trouble making it. So my group's going well. Michael certainly will not have any problem getting through the stage, regardless of how hard it is early on. And as I said, we can't control how Cav goes, but we're going to go all in to get those points and take it from there.
what would be the difference? Say exactly what you said. Cav doesn't want to go into the red, so Michael takes maximum points on that sprint stage. What do they call it? The bloody intermediate sprint. What would? Yeah, jeez, brain fart.
Day 18. It's day 18.
Mate, put a fork in this chook. I'm just about cooked. What would be the difference then with the points that he'd make up? And just as I said that, Whitey's gone again. So,
well,
anyone?
He's 36 points behind. If he gets that sprint 20 points, he'll only be 16 points behind.
Ooh, that's interesting, Baden. I think that's
as Cookie was just saying a minute ago, anything can happen. I mean, a sprint finish, you're just going to clip a wheel, whatever, and you lose 50 points like that. Simple as that.
We were saying then, Whitey, if it's maximum lighting it up from the start and say Cav isn't able to contest that intermediate sprint, that'll peg it back and Blink can get maximum points. That's 16 points difference then at the end of the stage. So it's all or nothing.
It's all possible.
Yeah, and like John said, stuff can happen in the finals. We've got 2 sprint stages to go. Who knows what's going to happen on Friday and Sunday? So you've got to be in it to win it. We've been very persistent throughout the tour, going after points. And I said we are waiting in the wings if something happened. And when Michael did win the green jersey a couple of years ago, I think Kittel had an 80 or 90 point lead with 48 hours to go until and then he crashed out. So, but you're not going to be in it unless you're being persistent. And our guys have been pretty committed in giving Michael the best opportunity to move up as close as to Cav as possible in the intermediate sprint jersey.
Scooter.
No. I didn't have a question for him at all, mate. I think he's answering everything as it is.
I just found a clear run for you. And before
exactly. I wasn't ready for it. I'm waiting to jump in. It was too relaxed that time. Outside of the obvious ones that are obviously up there on the overall classification, the guys are winning stages, and we know Michael Murku's been doing a great job for Cav in the lead-outs. Have there been a couple of riders? This is a question without notice. Are there riders sort of behind the scenes that don't feature on TV that have been doing a pretty impressive job? Anyone in particular that that you'd signal out and talk up that we're not seeing at the end of these stages because they've already done their job well and truly, earlier in the stage.
Yeah, I think for our team, Derbs and Chris Jules Jensen are doing a really good job marking certain moves at the start of the race. And Luca Mezgets, our lead-out guy, has been really impressive. Well, we haven't had a big train here to support Michael. I don't think he needs one. But Luca he's a bit of a magician in those finals, and those two have really worked very cohesively together. Haven't done a lot of racing together prior to the Tour de France due to circumstances that we haven't been able to control, and so that's been gelling well. And then when you look at our rivals there with Cav, he's had 3 or 4 guys wait for him every day to get him through these stages. Now that's one hell of an effort, and his teammates there. It ain't fun riding for 4 hours on your own and getting through the stage, making sure your leader survives. And if he does win the green jersey, he's going to have a lot of people to thank because it's been a real big team effort from Quickstep, not only leading him out but getting him through these stages as well.
Whitey, what's the medical update on Yatesy and Hamilton after they left the tour? How are they?
Yeah, so Lucas had I think it was a grade 3 dislocation in his shoulder, which is the lightest of the grades. And the last thing I heard was he was on the bike 3 days later, on the home trainer 3 days later. I'm not sure when he's back on the road, but I think he's going to Tokyo tomorrow. So it's been obviously a dislocation that was obviously stopped him finishing the stage, but with a few days rest, some strapping and treatment up until the games, he should be fine. And Simon had some abdominal, because he landed on his front as well, so he was pretty ginger there around his abdominal area. Nothing broken, which was good. And he went for a ride the next day, very, very easy one, 30 minutes, but he was in a bit of pain just to stay mobile. And then he flew to Tokyo on Monday, so he's already been there a couple of days, getting treatment and acclimatizing to the heat. Wow,
very good.
All right, well, we better let you go, Whitey. Thanks for joining us every day of the detour. We've only got a couple of stages to go, mate. So let's hope that blackberry can just hold on. We'll been all right so far. And Phil, you've got a bit of work to do as well, mate. You've got a big one today.
Yes.
A couple of HPs at the end. So before you do go, Phil, we'll mention the foundation, Careca. I got on there this morning. You're almost at the $14,000 mark, but tomorrow we're going to be joined by Jason from the Maldives, who's going to talk about the prize on offer for everyone that donates up until the end of the Tour de France. So make sure you get on the website and
that sounds
donate.
really nice. No, well, you're right. We're nearly 14 grand. That's terrific. Yeah.
So we've got to keep those donations coming. Thanks for joining us, fellas. Enjoy the day,
Hey, Jonesy and guys back in Oz. Are they showing? Are they showing stages like today live from kilometre zero?
Sometimes it's not often it is, but not every day. Sometimes we listen to a couple of other commentators talking about some other things. I don't know what's going on there, and then they'll flick on and they're 10k or 20k down. Other days we watch the whole neutral. So it's it's a flip of the coin, I think.
Shorter stage today, they will, for sure.
But Whitey, it is possible to watch every stage live from the start via the Tour Tracker app. But so on the actual SBS TV broadcast, sometimes it's from the start, sometimes it's not. But as John was saying, but you can actually, if you just download the app on your phone or iPad, you actually can watch it right from the start.
Yeah, they're all on it.
And that's where I'm going right now. I'm flipping across to go live.
Yeah, right.
On the
And can you guys get
15 minutes.
Can you guys get GCN in Australia as well?
No, not without a VPN. So if you get a VPN, you can get anything.
Okay, yeah, because it'll be worth watching the first hour of racing this morning. That's for sure.
Yeah, okay,
sure. Yeah,
I think
it is live today. We'd love to listen to your dulcet tones.
All right,
See you, Whitey. See you, mate.
Oh, there's Scoop's on the top right. Okay. And
before you go, I've got one quick one for you, Phil, because we haven't heard much from you. Just because it's one of the great stages I've seen last night, I was just absolutely blown away by it in so many different levels. I wanted to get your opinion of the stage last night.
Of the stage last night, it was fabulous to call. And it put the French, in my opinion, it projected the best three bike riders in the Tour, and those will be the three guys standing on the podium in Paris. They're head and shoulders above everybody else. They hit each other. We talked about Bernal 2 years ago. Now, last year, we talked about Pogacar. We'll talk about this guy next, because Jonas Vingegaard is the third in a row of the youngsters hitting the high spots. This kid is probably going to be next year's winner of the Tour de France. He's fantastic.
Ooh,
and
that's a big call.
I think we saw all three together. It was a classic race. And when you see the yellow jersey ride like Pogacar did, that took me back to the tours of old, when Eddie Merckx reigned supreme and liked to win in the yellow jersey. That was an incredible picture. So the best three are at the front. That's the way it is. Today's stage is magnificent. 65 times we'll have climbed the Tourmalet by the end of this day in history. And I thought we'd never see the top of Les Ardennes again, because back in 2011, when Sammy Sanchez won, the organisers, I was there obviously at that time, the organisers said, we probably won't come back here again because the Tour has got too big. We cannot get the vehicles up the mountain because when we get there, there's nowhere to park them. But we're back. I suspect, and I was going to ask Whitey this, that all the team buses, etc., won't be at the top. They're going to have to go back down the mountain to find the team buses, because they can't get all the technical vehicles on the top of Les Ardennes. But we're going back. It's a fabulous place. And I remember back in 1990, Indurain won at the top in those days, but Greg LeMond had to cross over the Tourmalet to chase down Claudio Capucci. And he called him Cappuccino. He never ever called him Chiappucci. He said, "How far ahead is Cappuccino? How far ahead is he?" He was shouting because he had to reach him, and he passed. He was on a lone break at the time, climbing Les Ardennes, and Le Mans went past him. He didn't win the stage, but he won the Tour. And
that's just disrespectful, not calling him by his proper name.
Yeah, because you never do that.
Reckon, John?
Salt and vinegar chips.
I must say. Well, I've got a date with Mike Tomalaris now, so that should be fun. I must go.
All right,
Okay.
mate.
Oh, I look forward to
Make
that.
sure you bring your A game. Thanks for joining us again, Phil. See you tomorrow, mate.
All the best, boys. See you tomorrow. Don't forget to send me the links. Bye.
Okay, mate.
Yeah.
See you, bud.
Phil
I
Liggett, Voice of
remember
Cycling.
the last time we went up Luzon at him, which a couple of years, 3 years ago, and that's right. I think there's a corner about 5K from the top where all of the TV thing was set up and where all the team buses and that were. It'll probably be the same. But anyway.
Cookie, I feel
Monster.
bad. We haven't really given you much love on the show so far. But strap yourself in. If you don't have anywhere to be, mate, we'd love to really deep dive after the break, because normally now we go to our sponsors' ads that have been organised from the fantastic John Trevorrow, who, if you need anyone to manage your sponsors.
I thought just before we go to the ads, we could break it into two parts, because we really want to. I know he won't be able to take as much about Survivor. Oh, look at that.
What about that
Let's
photo?
go motorhome.
Let's talk about that.
That's a great photo. That's the silos at the back of, I think, where Cookie, at the back of Benalla, where Cookie comes from. But I'm not sure exactly. But let's go motorhomes. That's what you do. You drive around Victoria and visit amazing places like that.
Yeah.
But I thought before we go, we can break it into two parts, because I'd love to find out what we can about Survivor from Cookie. He's probably not allowed to talk about it.
No,
but I thought
contract.
But I thought I'd like to just ask him about that great battle for the green jersey with him and Robbie, that last stage. If you could just take us through that stage.
You know he is here. He's on, John. You're talking about. Let's talk to Cookie at some stage.
Yeah,
He's actually here. You can talk directly to him if you want.
That's
You
exactly
know
what
that.
that's what I'm talking
Remember
about.
last year we deep dived through all of this, and it took Cookie 4 months of therapy just to move on, because we opened up all those old scars.
Living in Marseille.
That's right.
No, Survivor was great. I'm mates with Matt Rogers, the ex-Wallaby, who's been on Survivor twice, and via him, I got in contact with the executive producers and went on the show. I was in outback Queensland for a change. It's usually in Fiji, and we were at Cloncurry, which is outback Queensland. It's very, very hot during the day. It's desert. It gets very cold at night. It was certainly an experience that I'm glad I did it. I'll never forget it. But I think a lot of the people on the show were like, when they found out, because you don't know who's on the show until you get on it. And then people found out that I was on it, they were kind of like, oh, well, you've done the Tour de France, so this is just going to be easy. And but what you could understand is, when you're riding the Tour de France, you're out there, to kill or be killed, in war, to win what you want to win. And this was a great leveler when you're on this show, where there's been people that have been watching this show their whole life, and they are very, very, very passionate. And there was some people on there that were very tough, very ruthless, and it's hard to explain, but you're up against people that would kill or be killed to win that show. So it was very difficult, very, very hard, and a great challenge.
Obviously, you can't talk about what's in the show, because they want to keep that a surprise. But overall, are you nervous about how you're going to be portrayed in the show, or are you proud of like what you did whilst you were in there?
I'm proud of my game and how I did and how I portrayed myself, or how I acted. I think Survivor's a bit above. Some of the other reality TV shows are a bit tacky and a bit cheesy, and they do maybe edit people to appear to be saying something they're not, and they don't really have any regard for what people actually, how people actually acted. I think Survivor's above that. It's not. It's one of the most realistic shows. And I hope if I'm portrayed how I acted, then I'll be proud of that. And I really am not concerned that I'll be edited in a bad way.
Did you have a Survivor party organised pre-snap lockdown? Like, how were you going to celebrate the first episode?
Oh, I mean, I just want to watch it with my two daughters. My two daughters were sort of my motivation for going on the show, because they both love it. But they were also what made it so hard being away, because I was so used to being home. And I think that because you have no contact with the outside world, and the show goes for 48 days, and you can't speak to anyone. You can't speak to your daughters or your family in that time. I was the hardest thing by far was missing my family.
Yeah, well, we'll go to a quick break now, but we'll pick up the conversation after we have a quick word from our great mates at Let's Go Motorhomes and Bike Exchange.
Fun fact, you can make cycling part of your next Let's Go adventure. With a bike, you can enjoy and explore even more places. So feel the wind in your hair, book a bike, enjoy the outdoors and see more with a Let's Go Motorhome today.
Look at this bike. You think it's just a bike, right? But it's not. It's a bike 374 people are looking at. This guy, this girl, them, all looking at it. People from here, there, and wherever this is. People that are looking for a bike. Or just a piece of it. Amateurs, semi-amateurs, and pro-amateurs. This guy wants this bike, but with this crank and these bars. This could be the perfect match. But not this one. This girl has a bike to sell, and thousands of people might purchase it. Eyes on Bikes help grow small businesses. His, hers, yours, and the latest data and insights help those businesses keep moving. We are the world's #1 bike marketplace, with over 500,000 products and 900 brands, where buyers and sellers are brought together in a place where a bike is never just a bike. Bike Exchange, where the world buys, sells, learns, and rides.
Thanks again to Let's Go Motorhomes and Bike Exchange. Now, I've got a whole list of comments that I should start chewing through. And thanks again. $500 Let's Go voucher for our best contributor for the week. Stuart McIntosh, who's a regular contributor. He says, today's fun fact, the Pog won in yellow at the Tour today for the first time. Not so fun fact, Simon Clark has been riding for over 2 weeks with a broken vertebrae, tough as nails. That must be uncomfortable, Scooter.
Well, let's only one vertebrae, wasn't it? I think I did 5 days of the Stuttgart 6 day with 2 cracked vertebrae and 2 fractured ribs.
That's why I threw to you. I knew you'd double down and come over the top and go, I'll raise that.
But the thing is, I wasn't tough. I was just stupid because I didn't know they were fractured until we got an MRI after the 5th day of racing. And I was in excruciating pain, and I was actually coming off the track in tears. So I was probably the opposite. I was soft, but trying to be tough and couldn't get through. But trying to do Madison hand slings with Robert Bartko, who was the heaviest guy in the 6 days back then, with 5 cracked ribs and 2 broken vertebrae down the spine, was not fun. Shivers thinking about that. Clarky's a good guy. Tough guy.
Luxury. I lived in a cardboard box in the middle of the road, mate.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, I just saw this. Rob Charlton said, I've read Bahrain have been raided by the police. So then I got on Cycling News and I'm like, what the hell? It's true. 50 policemen, French policemen, have raided the hotel of Team Bahrain, and they've searched for riders' training data and I don't know, all this other stuff, but they were in and out within an hour. Iffy. What's your take on things like that? Obviously, you don't want to speculate, but whenever they get a sniff or there's a tip off, I mean, they're going to go in full biscuit.
Well, I can't really comment on it because I don't know anything about it, and I would be speculating. But I just hope where there's smoke, there's no fire. That's all I can hope.
Well, our standards may not be as high as Survivor, so why don't we just speculate and come up with some crap?
Exactly. Why not?
They've breached COVID protocols, and they took 50 police in there to check where they'd been and whether they'd been lying about their quarantine, perhaps.
Yeah, right. But like, if they're looking for rider training data, I mean, are they essentially going to go, hang on, he should have been going shit ass, and according to this, he's going a lot better. We got you. They want to flag the Strava segments that some of the Bahrain guys have had. They think they're a bit dodgy, and they may have been using e-bikes on some of their Strava segments before the tour.
It sounds pretty serious. I don't know, but I'll flick out a message to our man in the team.
Yeah, if he's the equivalent of Australia's Detective Columbo. Okay. Tony Hemming says, does the panel agree that Pogacar wants the polka dot jersey as well as the yellow and white? Next UAE will be stronger next year. Sheikh Mohammed will throw the kitchen sink into the budget. Whoa. Could you imagine if UAE start going, all right, whatever it costs, let's just go.
Well, I think they will. Yeah, look, he won it last year. So I mean, he won all three last year: the polka dot, the white, and the yellow. So he probably will again because I reckon he'll win the stage today.
Cookie, do we need salary caps in cycling, mate?
It's a good question. It does get a bit difficult when you get these mega teams that just buy everyone. You know, when Sky or Ineos have got, you know, guys riding on the front that could win the Tour themselves, it does make it difficult. I don't know about salary caps, but yeah, it's a discussion worth having, that's for sure. But I think at the moment, it's never been an issue, and because it's such an international sport, it would be so difficult to monitor that. You know, when you're talking about AFL, you can monitor all the transactions and what's going on with the players. But when you've got, say, a team from Bahrain, for example, and you've got riders that are coming from Slovenia or wherever, how on earth could you monitor that they're not slipping riders money on the side and that sort of thing? So I think it would be almost impossible to monitor.
Oh, just the old-fashioned system, Cookie. It'd be fine.
No, I agree, but and the argument against is Ineos has the biggest budget, and look, okay, they've dominated the Tour since 2012, but they're not, more than likely, most probably not going to win this time. So, you know, hey, the teams that are up against them also have big budgets too. So yeah, maybe there's a bit of for and against, but hey, the team with the biggest budget isn't going to win it. So that's a good thing.
I like this comment from Dale Simons. He says, Detour Podcast brought to you by Bike Exchange, Bad Internet, and Let's Go.
It's not boring, is it? No.
Tony Hemming said, this is the stage that Armstrong rode a motorbike up the climb after a girl handbagged him at the bottom of Les Ardennes.
Yes, 2003. It's when he clipped, he and Iban Mayo went down. And this is another, I guess, incredible thing about Lance, isn't it? That, you know, he wins 7 straight. He has this incident where he clips his handlebars. It wasn't just a gentle fall. He was slapped to the ground, didn't do any damage. Then when he remounted, he did a few pedal strokes and his foot came out of the pedal. Almost, you know, he could have knackered himself, the one knacker that he has. And then there's the other day, you know, the other one when Josipa Belocchi crashed and he went through the field. So he's had these 2 real close calls, but no injuries, and didn't get sick, didn't crash out. He had an incredible run. Despite all the other stuff, it was just an incredible run. And 2003 was when you picked up the green jersey. So it was that tour at Les Ardennes where Lance had that problem in the year that you won the green jersey, Cookie. So good memories of this climb.
Mm. Yeah, actually, I was at my parents' house in Benalla the other day, and they'd been watching, because they'd actually never watched the 2003 tour because they were over there with me most of the time. And they were, during this tour, re-watching the 2003 tour. So we watched a few, and I hadn't watched all the stages either. So we watched some of the stages, more of the mountain stages that, including that stage you're talking about, just the other day. And yeah, it was a pretty exciting tour, that one for sure.
Hey, Cookie, you've got to go, mate, but Sally wants to know, is Dancing with the Stars next on the cards?
I was thinking about Farmer Wants a Wife.
Benalla, the Benalla Bullet. Just round up some cattle.
Yeah.
Why not?
Excuse me.
Yeah, you do have a mute button,
Just
by the
killed
way.
Iffy.
Back to reality, just normal reality now.
Yeah, but obviously, once Survivor airs, so that can you answer like the structure of the show? Is it going to be like Sunday night each night in Australia, like through to Wednesday, and then back on Sundays?
I don't actually know. I'm pretty sure it's 3 episodes a week. I'm not quite sure, but I there's 24 episodes, so I think it's 3 episodes a week.
Well, once it goes to air, mate, if you can squeeze in some time into the detour, we'd love to talk to you post the Survivor fame when everyone's trying to pull at your jersey. So, mate, we're really looking forward to it. I mean, anyone connected with Aussie cycling is going to be up and about for sure.
All right, great. Thanks for having me on the show, guys.
Go ahead, Cookie.
Good to see you, buddy.
Mate.
Go ahead, Captain. See you, bud.
Baden Cooke, green jersey winner. I felt we sort of let Cookie down a bit, boys. Like we probably should have had him on a little bit later because he got caught in the start of the show washing machine. Whereas if we get guests on, I mean, obviously when we're on a grand tour, it throws the old structure, which is no structure, out. But we could have just given him a little bit more cook some time.
You threw him off the show before I could ask him the next question, but that's okay.
No, he had to go.
Okay.
But anyway,
I just got a message from Neil. I said, "What's going on with this cop visit in Poe?" He said, "I just thought the police came to our hotel. I have no idea what it's all about."
So Samantha, who's red hot on inside cycling knowledge, she said apparently concerns over Bahrain Victoria's recent performances by the Giro and the Criterium de Dauphiné.
That's right. So that was brought up by some French journalists. And in the end, they said, well, we've got no proof of anything. They were talking about performances, but they've got no proof. So it really, if something comes out of this, fair enough. If they really have something that they can't say, but they say, oh, well, we've actually got no proof. Well, then it just smells of, project, like the Pog. He smells because he's so good. I mean, come on, you've got to have something more than that.
Well, someone has to be the best as well. Now, we know that there's, obviously the past is tainted where the opinions of people and perception of the present, but there does have to be a best rider. And these performances they're not normal. They're not performances because these guys aren't normal athletes. They're not normal humans. They are the best of the best. And, Usain Bolt wins 100 metres at the Olympic Games and breaks a world record. You just know that he is the best human, the fastest on the planet that competes in athletics. And we don't immediately jump to the conclusion that he must have cheated his way to win that. And history does back it up that he has the results throughout time and the training. So, look, it's an unfortunate situation. We haven't had one of these sorts of situations for quite some time. It'd be very interesting to hear how all this unfolds.
Yeah. I tell you what I did like about last night's stage, Scooter, is the fact that the Pog started attacking really hard from 8.5K out. I mean, whack. They're going up 2,000 metres. He's hit them a lot of times. And then even Vinegar had a go himself, and then Carapaz a big one. And in the end, the three of them were still together. To me, that's one of the best things to come out of this tour, that there are three guys there racing for the podium. Okay, two of them are racing for second and third, I know, but that was the best thing to come out of yesterday for me.
Yeah, I agree, Johnny. It was good, wasn't it? Because typically we've seen it so many years in the past where, I guess the early attack started because he ran out of teammates to drive the pace. They would have, if you had another couple of riders, they would have gone further up, as we've seen with Ineos and Sky in the past, and Jumbo-Visma more recently as well. But just good that he was forced into attacking, wasn't scared to do that, and then the other guys could follow. I reckon the other two, more so than trying to attack Pog, it was trying to go with him to see if the other would crack, because it is this race for second place, isn't it? And Ben O'Connor, he was with him for a bit, then lost time and just set himself a good old tempo and ended up catching and passing Rigoberto Urán. So, it was a good ride from Ben as well. I've been really worried about, because when he did win that stage, he in the Alps, he was in the early break. He obviously climbed well and very well from the guys in that early break, but this is where he had to really back it up to prove that he is a true contender. And I think last night was a case that, he definitely deserves where he's at. He just didn't gain time for free, a week ago. He's really put in a great performance. He's got one more day to do it. The time trial, of course, is going to be a bit of a challenge. He didn't do a great time trial. And Wilco Kelderman, who did beat him in the time trial, sits behind him now in the overall classification, but he didn't beat him by that much. So it'll be, who has legs at the end of a Grand Tour more so than who is the better on paper time trialer. But
that's exactly right. Yep. Yeah. Look, I got it. he's doing some blogs, and I got a lot of his quotes together for a little story I wrote for the Geelong Addy, and it was such positive stuff. You know, it really, really is fantastic. But I'll tell you, I was impressed with his ride, especially because he went with all the Pogacar attacks. Pogacar,
mate. Pogacar.
And then he realised, you know, hang on, this is pushing me too back. He dropped back with Uran and the other EF guy, and he just sat with him and then just went whack at the right time, took time out of them. It was very impressive. He showed he had the strength to hit them. He didn't just hang there with them. He actually felt good enough to actually take time out of them. He needs to take a bit more time out of Uran today, because Uran will beat him by a minute or so on the time trial. But he's actually not as bad a time trialer as what that stage, that first time trial showed, because he was still a bit injured. He was a bit sore, I read, in that time trial. He's better than that. So let's see what he can do. And as you alluded to, Scooter, the last time trial in the Tour de France isn't always just about who's the better time trialer. It's about the condition that the rider is in. So
and a good example of that, from an Australian perspective, we were talking about him the other day, or he came up on the. We weren't actually. It was on the coverage, on the SBS coverage, talking about Michael Rogers. Now, he was multiple times world time trial champion, but he was never able to do a great time trial in a Grand Tour. You know, that's where he really struggled. So trying to time trial when he was fatigued wasn't his cup of tea. But on a one day when he was fresh, he was amazing. So and it took him a couple of years to get to a point where he went past, okay, trying to win a Grand Tour, and he realised that, you know what, it's 7 to 10 days is what he can do. Beyond that, he just fatigues too much. And look, Ben seems to be coming through pretty good.
I've got a question for you, Scooter, because one thing I did love about that stage yesterday was the poker face of Carapaz, you know, where he really played the, I'm struggling, I'm just here, and they didn't believe it. Old Vinegar and
that was your old trick, Scooter. I remember being in a car at the tour when we were working with Fox, going, mate, I used to have this great trick. You just make out you're suffering, and then you pipe them at the end.
I was going to ask you exactly that question, Scooter. Have you used the poker face?
Yeah, and I'm sure you did too, John. It's one of those things where, and it could be that you're struggling, right? So you don't, you know, if you're in a breakaway group, or say it was yesterday, he obviously was trying to say that he was struggling, so don't expect me to come through and work, and then lit it up. Or the other one is that, you do it that you're cruising. So if you're a sprinter and you're in a lead group and you know that everyone wants to attack you to try and get away before the finish because you know they know you'll beat them in the sprint, you want them to think that there's no point. Why point? There's no point in trying to attack you because you're just going to cover every move. So that one, you make sure you look like you're just cruising and, just try to bluff them into not actually attacking you at all so that you can cruise to the finish and just pump them in the sprint. So, there are tactics to it. That's something that I felt Johnny has gone out of the racing a little bit, is that feel, the craft, and I know
lying.
A lot of the guys from lying. Yeah, the lying. I think Lance still there.
Lance was famous for it when he actually dropped to the back of the bunch and pretended he was struggling, and so that he knew that they would see it, the opposition on their TV, and so they told them to attack, and then he threw bang over the top of them.
Yeah, T-Mobile, that was yours. T-Mobile went to the front,
exactly,
and drove it over the penultimate climb, thinking they had him in trouble, and then as soon as they got, I think it was up to Ez, as soon as they got there, it was Tricky Beltran, actually. It was a former teammate of mine at Mappe. He absolutely lit it up from the bottom, and then Lance said, "Thanks, fellas."
That was the same year that Lance went back to the team car. He says, got a problem. And he's pedaling along. They go, what is it? He goes, I can't feel my chain. Is it still there? They go, yes, it's Lance.
Yeah.
Yes, anyway, hey, we've got some trade rumours, innuendo, or could be fact. Andy Matthews says New Zealand young sensation Finn Fisher-Black is leaving the Jumbo development team to go to UAE next year. And Will Wizard, the weatherman, says Jai Healing to Bora.
Yeah, I heard that.
I heard that. Scooter, going across the Bora.
Well, it's going to be interesting next year with Sagan. I don't know if it's been confirmed yet, but it sounds like he's going, and Sam Bennett coming across. Look, that's become a great team, hasn't it? Because when they first formed, it was all about Peter and they didn't really have anyone else. But and in these last 2 years that Peter hasn't really been firing, then the team's really stepped up. They've got some great riders there, and some more old mate of mine that runs that team as well.
Andy
George
Matthews
Bennett.
was all across New Zealand news. Rumours that George Bennett is going to UAE. Dan, could you check that one out? Now, we will be doing a social distance potty next week when George arrives in Tokyo for the Olympics. We haven't told George yet, but hopefully he does it.
That's an interesting one, John. Dan, that's interesting, isn't it? Because you just talked before about, look, if UAE win the Tour, then maybe there'll be so much money, thrown at the team. I wonder when, if that's true, when the conversations started. Was it that they could see that Pog was really starting to go and, we need to build a team for next year now already, or has this been in the works for a while? So
maybe
you have to ask them that.
Maybe they need a video guy, Scooter.
Ooh.
This could be a package. Bennett
Run the social media.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Hopefully they don't go to these teams and then they end up just being domestics. I mean, one of the with Hershey, it's great that he's got he's done a fantastic job with UAE in this tour. He's been one of the engines on the flat and doing a power of work. But hey, that's not what I like to see him doing. I like to see him what he was doing last year on the Tour de France, where he just lit it up and up the road and winning stages. It's a real disappointment that we're not seeing that Hershey in this bike race.
He had that early crash too, which put him back for the first week and a half. Yeah.
Peter Williams wants to know what happened to John's old nickname, the Angry Ant. You're still angry. You're still an ant.
They got it mixed up. They thought it was angry. It was just me struggling and in pain. So they turned it around. But I was pretty good at that poker face. I was thinking about some of the character things that happened today. I remember as a youngster, I was about 19, I reckon. We're riding to go to Charlton, and they used to have a Charlton crit, and all the big hitters are there. And Donnie Allen jumped away at the bell. I jumped away after him, and down the back straight, I was almost caught him. I thought, no, if I catch him now, we'll both sit up and we'll get caught. So I just hung off. And every time I looked around, I put the paid face on, and he kept going, and I just kept about 5 lengths off, 10 lengths off, and then smacked him down the finishing straight.
Yeah, that's it. Love it. Gotta love it. Yeah.
But my favourite one, quick one, was a tour of Tassie, and we come to the last day, and so Wayne Roberts, Luke's dad, really wanted to win it, and we were running first and second, and we had this big hill, Pepper Hill, and I said, look, mate, I want to win it as well. And most likely you'll spit me up Pepper Hill. I was carrying a little bit of weight. So it really won't matter. Listen, we'll race up Pepper Hill and whoever wins, wins. So anyway, as it turned out, there's 3 of us left climbing Pepper Hill. And every time Wayne Roberts looked around, I put that smile on. The other thing, I'm going, okay. I was actually biting the bloody head stem. And he, anyway, there you go. My poker face, the opposite one.
Some more classic stories from Johnny Trevorrow's cycling career. Stuart McIntosh, they're wanting song suggestions for that last day because the voice is coming back. If he's it'd be rude not to. Or what about the song suggestion, Free Ranger? Dan singing the Doors classic, Come On If You Light My Fire. Yeah. Ben Jensen says, I remember at the Bakeritz years ago, my old man pointed it and said, that's John Trevorrow. You know, they called him the Angry Ant. Well, there you go.
There you
go. I think that's pretty much it for.
I did see. Actually, I was scrolling down the questions too, mate.
Can you select them as well on the questions? Ooh. I think if you press one, you might be able to bring it up.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Which one?
Why can't I see these? Where do they come from?
Look, we need a team production meeting, and I'll try and work out how you guys can call the questions out. Just another one from Tom Maloney says you have to feel for George Bennett and even Roglic. They were just on the verge of Tour de France podium, and all these young blokes, rockets, arrive on the scene. That's a common problem with a lot of the riders that are moving on, with the emergence of the young guys. And you know, you even look at I've got to give Scooter admin rights. That's correct, Ben.
That's what it is.
Bringing across what's obviously been tough for Bike Exchange this year, if he's bringing across Michael Matthews, you know, a rider with a lot of success, but it's a new era now in terms of you've got all these young guys that are bursting on the scene, and it's just getting harder every year to get these results, and it's difficult. It's modern day cycling.
Interesting that Phil thought that Jonas Vingegaard would win the Tour de France next year. The problem he's got is that the Pog is a year younger than him. And so, what's going to happen to the Pog if vinegar, salt and pepper, or salt and vinegar is going to win next year? Where's the Pog going?
And one other one I want to say, Prasad, he asked a lot of good questions. Why teams other than Ineos are not putting any pressure on Team UAE, Scooter?
I think they just don't think they've got the cattle to mix it with Pogacar. So I think they're struggling with that. Ineos are now desperate to try and come up. Like Jumbo-Visma, obviously doing. They've had a couple of stage wins. They've got a result that they weren't expecting because their main guy went home and their second man has stepped up dramatically. So I think they're in a pretty good situation still. And there's 5 minutes now. I think modern day cycling. I don't think anyone's seeing any cracks in Pogacar at the moment. And to overcome a 5 minute deficit could end up just exploding your own team and your own main man. So I think they're all now starting to consolidate and try and finish on the podium instead.
All right, boys, before we wrap it up, predictions for stage 18, who do you like?
The Pog.
Ooh.
Pog.
Yeah, hard to go past Pog, isn't it? Yeah, Pog.
Yeah, all right. It's
Pog,
three
Pog,
Pogs.
Three Pogs.
As we always say, thanks for supporting the show, youtube.com/Detour Podcast. Like, share, subscribe. Anything you want to add before we go, fellas?
Well, I'll just say the question that did pop up was Stuart McIntosh. He just asked me directly, what's the souvenir Jacques Godet about on the top of the Tourmalet? So today they go over the Col de Tourmalet as the penultimate climb before Lutz Ardiden. And the Jacques Godet prize is for the second race director. So Jacques was the second race director of the Tour de France, and he passed away in 2000. So since then, in honour of his name, they have a prize at the top for the purse rider over the top, and they've got a memorial up there. They put that up there, I think, in 2003. So it's just showing some respect for the history of former race directors and organisers of the Tour de France.
Oh, good. That's a good initiative. You've always got good little insights there, Scooter.
Every now and then.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks again. Thanks to Baden Cooke. Apologies we didn't give him a bit more attention at the start of the show. Thanks to Matt White and obviously the voice of cycling, Phil Liggett, will be back on again tomorrow night. Enjoy the stage tonight, and tune in tomorrow, 6:30 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. The time won't change because we're in lockdown and we've got nothing better else to do. We'll see you then.